everybody. Welcome back to the Dr. Denisha Keating Show. Super excited to have these next guests on the show. Just a reminder, you guys, that we are doing a table talk conversation where friends are coming together to talk about particular conversations, to ask questions, to understand each other. There's no yelling, screaming, talking over each other, or trying to get that gotcha moment with them, but actually asking questions to understand where they're coming from and why. And then we're inviting you guys as that fly on the wall to be able to hear how we navigate this conversation so you can have these conversations in your life. I am glad and excited to welcome the hosts of Shift 180. And the first question I want to ask you guys is, first off, what have you guys been up to? And why did you guys name your show Shift 180?
Yes, well, for everyone who doesn't know us, I'm Ellie.
And I'm Tara.
So we started, it's actually 180 Shift. We started that probably like 2 years ago, I think.
About 2.5 years ago, yeah.
About 2 years ago, and we were just two young people who wanted to get involved in the conversation. I mean, so much was happening around us in the world, and, you know, I'm currently 19. I was, I think, 17 at the time that we started this.
Yeah.
But we were just looking at everything around us, and we were looking at our own lives, reflecting about what's happening. And we knew that there was a moment in our life where we'd made a 180 shift, whether it was in a viewpoint, like an actual lifestyle, a habit we've done. We've done an entire 180 shift in that. And so we wanted to be able to have that as well through a conversation with other people. So,
yeah, and I appreciate that you brought up, that thing of displaying a proper conversation, because that was something that we really gave to our developing audience over the past 2 years. Was we did interviews every single week, 7 p.m. and we would just display what it was like to have a well-conducted argument with someone. And oftentimes, we had guests who did not think like we did at all. And, but we would still, and that was something that we would do, is we would still give that to our audience of, well, this is how to have a proper debate. This is how to have a proper, respectful conversation. We don't have to be as divided as young people as it may seem. And you don't have to run from your beliefs if they go against the grain of whatever you're seeing in culture. So that was a big part of it.
And I think the hardest part is that, like, for a while now, we've been taught that if you can't agree with each other, you can't have a conversation at all. And I think that's such a dangerous place to get in. And that's actually why, like, in August, I was like, we're shifting the podcast to having kitchen table talk conversations, the ones you have in private that you would not have on social media with people, because you don't want people to judge you or have to, like, fight. And that, I feel like every conversation right now on social media is fighting. And I'm like, I remember I was talking to Sheriff Bianco, and he said something that was wild to me, that he said the last 70 years we've been taught not to talk about faith and politics. And I'm like, that's so weird, because it's true. And it's like, whenever I would get into conversations with the majority of people, it was an argument, we were fighting, people would get physical, or you see half the room get up and leave the conversation. So as you guys are having these conversations with that 180 shift mindset, what has been some of the most surprising takeaways that you guys have found?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I mean, like, even within my own life, I totally understand, like, not being able to have a conversation that happens all the time. Like, even within my own family, like, either somebody gets up and leaves, or there's something that's going to go down, right? But I think just within our conversations, I've been really loving the fact that we've had some people on that we don't agree with, but we've been very civil, very civil, and we've been able to, like, have fun with it. So that's what I've actually really loved about talking to people who normally we wouldn't be able to talk to in a normal way. But
can you describe what you mean by have fun with it?
Yeah, I mean, like, okay, so for our podcast, we have a little boba, is what we share with our guests, right? And so that's kind of like we bring the humanity side of it, like I'm offering you something. But we also joke around, like, even before and after the show, we'll, like, talk about life. Like, not everything has to be politics, right? Yeah. There's a human behind the politics, that, their ideology. And getting to know who they are, what's happening in school, what are they pursuing in life, their goals and dreams, and also the person behind, like your background, where did you come from? Right. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. I think my favorite moment of like having a disagreement with someone in conversational setting was we had a young woman on our show, and she was very anti-Trump, pro-Kamala. This was before the election ended, and she was we just kept I think Ellie and I were just trying to poke holes in her argument respectfully, while still giving her the space to talk and vent. And we learned about her story, and it was like, oh, she has people in her family, she's worried about them getting deported. It makes sense why she why Trump is seen as a scary person in her life. And we were just taking that apart. And then, Ellie was able to share some of her story. I was able to share some of my story, and we were meeting halfway. But my favorite part about it, though, was we were listening, and she was, talking a lot about just why Kamala was so great and fantastic. And then an earthquake happened, and the earthquake interrupted her. I think this girl is so sweet. I think she's a wonderful person. We just disagree fundamentally, and it was obvious then. It's obvious now. I mean, me and her especially. And the earthquake happened, and it interrupted her, and we all just went, an earthquake just happened. And we like all completely forgot about Trump, Kamala, immigration. It was like when we were just going, we were live on a podcast, and then an earthquake happened. And we were all just...
For those who don't know, that doesn't happen. It does happen in California, but it doesn't happen often. And so it rattles you.
Yeah.
But it's so funny that an earthquake just makes you kind of be like, hey, hold on, like, this is not as important as a conversation. And I know ICE is very serious. Immigration is very serious. Mm-hmm. I've been born and raised in California. And this is not the first administration to handle things with immigration. And it is a hot topic. And I do have friends who have had family deported because they were not here legally. And the family has been able, most of the time, to come to that, like, okay, we should have done this thing. We should have made this happen. But what makes it feel different this time around, or kind of similar, like, I know both of you guys have spoken about, maybe share a little bit more of your story of why immigration, you're kind of like, okay, I'm not scared. Because a lot of the comments I see on social media is like, oh, just because you disagree with it, you're going to get deported now. And it's like, that's not how immigration works. So if you guys could share a little bit about that.
Well, yeah, so my father-in-law was deported. And so it's like it's always a reminder in my life of, in order for my children to have a relationship with their grandfather, we have to jump through all these hoops of, scheduling the time because he's on the other side of the planet, and, all this crazy stuff we have to do. And the communication is rough. I don't know if we're ever going to be able to go out there to meet him. I don't know if he's welcome back here. It's just this big, messy situation. And even he and I talk about it too. He does not like Trump. So he'll email, we'll email back and forth about that sometimes. But the other thing about him is he also says, I should have just, taken the, 5 to 10 years it takes to get to become a citizen. I should have just done it the right way. That's kind of my personal take on it. And what about you, Ellie?
Yeah. So, all 4 of my grandparents came from Mexico. So, very immigrant heavy family. Mm-hmm. 2 of them came here legally. And then I have another 2 who came here illegally. And the ones who came here illegally are currently now citizens, which I am so thankful for. They just became citizens actually just a few years ago. So very, very recent. And I have several members of my family and even friends of my family that are still illegal. So it's definitely a topic that's still very much present in my life. I mean, I know my grandma's texting us like, oh, blah, 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 had to stay away from this place because ICE was there today. So it's a topic that is talked about in my family quite often. Okay. However, I've noticed that 2 of my grandparents who came here illegally, they currently today do not, they actually stand for more of what Trump says in the current administration and what they're doing, which is very interesting. My other 2 grandparents who came here legally, they not so much, which is a very interesting sort of like,
That's an interesting dynamic.
it is a very interesting dynamic. And I'm like, what I've personally chalked it down to is like maybe they felt bad or something, but I do know that when they came here in the US, they kind of just believed whatever was going on. Whatever mainstream media was saying, they were like, okay, this is it. But I think my grandparents who came here illegally, realized that is not the right process to go through. And as Christians, you're not supposed to break the law. Right?
Yeah.
That's not something you're supposed to do. However, what I love about America is that there's still forgiveness through it, and you're still able to have a process like my grandparents did.
I think that, two of the things is that, one of the things, the thing about the Trump administration isn't just like, well, you're never getting a chance again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you self-deport, you get the chance.
Yeah.
But if you don't, that's when you mess it up. I haven't heard that before
Mm-hmm.
with any of the other administrations. My great grandma from my dad's side actually was an immigrant from Germany.
Yeah.
They came during the whole Nazi situation. They actually ran from Germany, and she was 14, I believe, like 14 years old, and her husband was 16.
Mm-hmm.
They got married and came here, and then like started their life here, but like heavy poverty on both sides of my family. And it was just like, when I found that out, like it makes me really offended because people will literally call me a Nazi. And I'm like, fun fact, not very fun. But she literally at 14 years old, my great grandma was like, we can't do this anymore. And they left and they came here and then went through the process and became legal. But I'm only 4th generation on that side. And that's not very much when you think about it. But it is that hard reality is that people don't realize that the administration is not targeting one race.
It's
the
true.
Same administration 2-3 years ago, or not 2-3 years ago, 2-3 presidents ago, Obama, he didn't target based off race. He was like, he targeted by immigration status. And it was like, if you came here the wrong way, like you screwed up. That is breaking the law. And a lot of people don't recognize that. But even like in my family, I've noticed there's a heavy, because they live in Los Angeles, so there's a heavy dislike for having people follow the immigration law. But I'm like, it's the same thing as you driving without, it's not the same thing. It would be just like you driving without a license or you robbing something. Like, you don't do those things. Like, well, I don't know why people make this like the exception. And I do think it's because, especially in California, we're a melting pot. And it is because it's like, well, they wanted to have a better life. And then you hear how they were growing up in those places, and you're like, that is not a place for you to live. And I totally get that. But I'm like, it's not a safe adventure to come here to the U.S. the way that they did. It was very dangerous. And one of the things someone told me recently was like, well, what are they supposed to do? Just walk back home? And I'm like, no, they don't. They don't make them go back through that same journey that they came here in. They're actually flying them back. They're sending them back properly and safely. They're not just being like, okay, hike it back and have fun. And I think that might be one of the misconceptions that we see, is that like we just throw them in the middle of nowhere and hope for the best. Like, it's like, no, they're going home. They have family there. They have homes there. Jobs hit or miss sometimes depending on where they're going. But they do have places to go. They're not just hopefully not going to be on the street. There might be a couple, but I highly doubt that when all of their family is still out that way. Right. But immigration is such a hard topic, I think, especially for Californians, because we're such a melting pot of people, that it's like every single one of us knows somebody that is being affected by it. Like you said, it's an everyday conversation. It's you can't go with your friends without being like, okay, like, oh, that's not great. Like, I've checked on my friends and I'm like, hey, are you okay? Because it is that heavy and that hard. But it's not something like, almost every single friend that I know is the same way, where it's like, I should have done this the right way and I wouldn't be scared right now. But there are so many other people who are just like, screw you, don't even have this conversation. And I'm like, this has been a conversation my whole life. Because that's California. Like, we hear this all the time. So in your families, what has that, like, is it like a holiday conversation? Like, some people have, family conversations. Is it a heated one? Is it one that, what does that look like when you do have that conversation?
Oh, it's very heated. I don't know where to start with that. That gets very heated, and that's like, it's not even just a holiday. It's like just coming over. Like if the family just comes together, somebody, you know, says something, you know, and I think this goes back to personalities as well, because like, because somebody's got to get heated, and then, you know, it becomes into like this whole entire thing. And I remembered on birthdays, you know, Christmas, like you can't, Easter, my goodness, like guys, you know,
we're just trying to find eggs.
We're just trying to do something fun. But, you know, it is something, and it happens on like a regularly basis. However, I think that for a time being underneath Biden's administration, my family had sort of cooled down, because I guess most of my family is, well, depending on what side of my family is. But since I live with most of my mom's side of the family, they are very heavy Democrat leaning, liberal. I know, you know, Marxist even, you know, like socialists. So very heavy on that side. And they were kind of quiet because they had, you know, won that round, right? But currently under the Trump administration, they are currently under like attacking basically, you know, my family. You know, saying, how could you do this? You're such a a terrible person to this family, like we betrayed them or something. And so that's sort of been the conversation lately, is that almost disowning us, but not disowning us, but like if they could, they would, you know, kind of situation. So, you know, yeah.
For me, so, I'm definitely like the odd person out. Like and you know, most of my communication with my family is on group chats. It's not in person anymore. Yeah. Because most of them are in Colorado. But, you know, what they'll do is like, everybody will talk about a political subject, and then I'll just chime in. It doesn't matter what it's about. And then they all just, like, one or two of them fact check or disprove me. And then everyone else, like, love reacts to that. And that's about as deep as it goes. But one thing I thought was funny was, is that, you know, we have this debate of like, no, let them come here. They need to come here. Like, we welcome everyone. But then you also have, and I have some cousins actually who believe this deeply in this, because my heritage is also Native American from New Mexico. So a lot of what they say too is like, their land has been taken because they were here first. But it's interesting to see how all these narratives like get stacked on top of each other, because it's like, wait, so do you want people to come here, new people to come here and like, you know, build their cities, build their societies here? Or are you mad that they're doing that? Right. Because it seems like the, you know, pro-immigration, the pro-open border says, yeah, come here and build, like get involved with our society. But it's also like, oh, bad, you know.
What gets me with that argument, because like my head just spins when people talk sometimes. But one of the things that I was thinking, they're like, well, this land was obviously Native American before it was taken over by people who came over from, you know, Britain and all that stuff, England, blah, blah, blah. They traveled over here and they stole the land. I'm like, cool. But America was established after that. So it doesn't matter. You wouldn't have been a part of the American people, though. Now, I am all for people integrating in, learning the land, laws. I'm good with people keeping their culture. Like, I think they should. Now, I don't agree with how we erased Indian culture. I don't agree with people being like, you can't be proud of where you came from. But what I don't get is the protests that we've seen in LA over the decades, but especially recently, where it's like, okay, we're going to have flags that are not of this country. And then it's like, we're fighting police. It's like, you want to protest, I'm all for it. I'm not okay when you start getting violent. I'm not okay when you start breaking into stores. It's just like, it's that same concept where it's like, I'm okay with you keeping your culture, but at some point too, are you going to integrate here? I'm not telling you to get rid of who you are. But I mean, I'm also white, so people say that I don't have, I don't have a culture. And I'm like, it's kind of funny because I felt that my whole life of like, we don't have anything because we literally, my family got rid of everything that was outside of America as soon as they came here. They're just like, integrate as fast as possible and don't speak German, like just get rid of it. So none of us speak German, but my dad learned how to speak Spanish fluently, which I thought was really cool, but he didn't teach any of us. And I'm like, we grew up here. We should have known how to speak Spanish. But that's like, I don't think that, as from what I'm seeing, and a lot of it's just on social media, is people not integrating into the country that they live in. Because if you go anywhere else, you go to China, you go to Canada even, they're just like, our rules, our laws, follow them. That's it. But I think that's what I don't see happening here in America is like, you're allowed to like, I mean, you're not allowed to bring your laws and stuff like that in here, but it's starting to get to that point where our laws are being erased, like in California. We have a law that was passed in 2016 or 2020? Maybe 2022. But it was that law that was like, if they broke into a gas station where they tried to attempt to burglarize, they would get a misdemeanor versus a felony. And like, we just got super soft on crime. And then in 2024, we were like, flip it, no, because people were like, well, yeah, it's a 16-year-old kid or 12-year-old kid. And I'm like, no, these are grown people doing this multiple times and they're getting away with it. And there was a store, I remember in LA, that literally priced everything above, like it was like, you can't press charges as a business until it was like over $950. Yep. So he's like, $959. It was like, come on. But like, that's what people bring into the voting aspect, where they're like, well, I want that to be easier for me. I don't want to have that. And that doesn't sit well with me. So what do you guys feel like when you're integrating? I feel like California is really good, again, about like being a melting pot. I can look out and be like, oh, there's these different cultures, there's these different, people. But what do you guys, on your guys' side, what have you guys seen while you guys have grown up? Because I feel like the last 15 years has been just different than what I grew up in. I'm 35. So it's like, when I was 15, it was vastly different than what you guys might have seen at 15.
Yeah. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, because I hear that term melting pot a lot. But honestly, it feels more like a salad bowl. That's kind of, because it's like, yes, there are different people here, different cultures here.
Or we're just throwing it together.
But it's not like, it's like we still have like majority white neighborhoods, like black neighborhoods, Hispanic neighborhoods, like Armenian neighbor. Like we still see that separation of people wanting to, like, you can go into like pretty much any local church and figure out like what the demographic is there,
Community.
Yeah. And so I don't know. I think that, it's kind of like a pipe dream of like a melting pot, because it's like, I used to DoorDash a lot and I would get pulled into like South LA, and I would just be walking there, like I'm on a DoorDash order and people are just like, what are you doing here, white girl? Like, why are you here? And I'm just like, I'm just here to drop off this food. Like, I don't even know. But it's like, so, and then I've had friends who are white who've got really triggered about that. Like I would take them to a studio in LA and we'd be the only white people there. And, the comments like, oh, white girl. Yeah. Oh, you gonna dance to this white girl or whatever.
Wait, are you white though?
I'm pretty much like, yeah.
White, Native American, and then...
When I was growing up, they used to call me Bean Burrito. They were like, she's white on the outside, but beaner on the inside. They used to say.
It's always awkward when we're mixed.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, like definition of like when I think, so I'm just going to say it like based off my family, white, it's not an accurate representation. Because like when we think white, like we think like, it's gonna sound really bad, but like white trash, because that's what people have always called me.
Yeah.
Like wherever I've grown up,
just
and
like
I've
Irish.
always lived in places where it was more Mexican heavy or black heavy, and we were like the only white kids around. We lived in Fontana at that point. Now Fontana is now more diversified, but there definitely is those places when you start to drive around where it's like, oh, that is all where the white people go. That's where all the Mexicans go. That's where all black, based off of socioeconomical standing.
Yeah.
We were very poor. We were a big family on one income, and so we lived like every neighbor I had. It was like 5 families in one house.
Yeah.
And then we just kind of fit in because we had a lot of kids. But they were all Mexican. Every single one. And there would be like one random white people like somewhere. I'm like, oh, hi. How are you?
Yeah.
You're here too. But like when you look at like what we really are, it's German, Irish, Scottish, Scandinavian. Like I'm like, hey, and I have French in me. And I was like, wow, like didn't know that existed. But my family swore up and down forever that we had Native American on both sides. They said Cherokee and Blackfoot. not a single drop on me, like at all. Like one of my sisters has a very small percentage of Native American, but like my other sister and I don't. And I'm like, okay, that means it wasn't as heavy coming down the line, but they swore up and down. Now my dad, he pretended to be everything. He's like, oh, like he would literally say that, drove me crazy. He's like, I'm a little of everything. I'm Mexican, I'm Chinese, I'm this. And I'm like, and everyone looked at you like you were an idiot when you said that. Because he was, I'm just an everybody kind of guy. And I hated it. Because I'm like, what are we? And he's like, we're everything. And I'm like, we're not. We're not, though. So I was so confused growing up because it was like we had nothing, like no truth to like what we were. And it was like just grab everything from everybody else. And I felt like that was really weird to do that. But yeah, continue.
For me, I mean, I think that today, like the melting pot is so interesting. I mean, that's what I love about America, though, is that there's so many different people, and of course, like you were talking about, here in California, it's so big. You get to see everybody from different cultures, and that's what I love, is that you're able to still get your keep your culture, right? Mm-hmm. Keep those traditions that you've passed down from generation to generation. You know, those recipes that carry so much of your family, and you know that's what I see within my own family. But at the same time, it's like you also need to take hold of the country's values, which is obeying the laws, right? But also everybody's equal, right? Yeah. Under God. And we have these wonderful laws and things that keep us all together. And the thing is like, even if we have all these different cultures, we still need something to stick us together to help us be an actual country. Because if not, we're just our own little things here and there. We actually need to be like a family, right? Like stick together. But that's what the ideals of this country give us, right? So like family, faith, freedom, all those classic things. And I think that's something that my grandma's done a lot, is that she'll still keep, those traditions that pass by, but she'll also she gets really excited to do any holiday, any sort of like American holiday. She'll get so excited to do, like whether it's Halloween or something. And she always tells me, she says, when I came to this country, I wanted to make sure that I celebrated what this country had. Right. And so that's one thing that I think they did wonderfully and that I would love to pass on. And that's something that I wish a lot of people, because if many of the immigrants want to come to America, they really want to be here, then be happy and celebrate the country as well. And that's something that I don't see very often. And, that kind of breaks my heart. And because there's a lot of immigrants that do. But then we have the ones that are on the street protesting, and then they've got like their own flag from their country. And I'm glad that they're proud of that, but let's also be proud of where you want to be, right? And live.
I think what gets me is that it's not even that it's immigrants that are illegally here that are protesting.
Right.
It's people who are literally born here, raised here.
Yeah, like first generations.
That are just like, I'm so upset. And I'm like, yeah, because first off, like, I think that the hardest part about where we're at right now as a society, like, 4th of July, I wore a God Bless America hat, and my daughter loves hats, so she wore In God We Trust. Yeah. And I got attacked on social media. Like, I was called Hitler. I was told that, like, Republicans shouldn't be able to have children, that I'm abusing her because I love my country. And it's like, I don't always like our administration. Yeah. I don't always like the things that happen within society. But I do very much love that I am in a country and have been in a country that is free. Yeah. I grew up in poverty, and because of our country, was able to find ways to get out of that poverty. And when I'm saying like poverty, like no lights, no water, no food for weeks at a time. And it'd be like there was nothing that my parents could do to change that, except for like my mom worked, but she didn't want to work. It was a whole thing. But it was these things where it was like, 15 years old, I'm like, I'm done living this life of nothingness. I want more for myself. And I listen to the people around me of like, this is what you can do here. And a lot of them happen to be my friends' parents who were here illegally, who were like, Denisha, you have such an opportunity to change your life. And one hurdle you don't have is that you're here legally versus illegally. You were born here. That's such a privilege that you have. And I loved that they spoke that truth over me, because at a young age, I could have gone in a very different direction. But there are so many kids here that are young adults where it's like, oh, I'm just going to get mad to get mad. I'm going to let my emotions like totally come out whenever I want. I'm not going to have any accountability for what I do. And I do think that some kids are just like, oh, I'll just explain it away and like get away with what I've done. Again, there's nothing wrong with protesting. Protesting is fine. Go. That's your right as an American. Where I get stumped is that they're like, wait, there's consequences for my actions. And I'm like, yo, bro, and that's been forever. Like, I know someone in high school, when I was in high school, he literally like robbed a store and he's like, I'll get away with it. It's fine. I'll just apologize. I'm like, dude, you guys killed a guy. Like, you guys murdered somebody because you broke into the store. He said, well, I didn't pull the trigger. He was arrested, never saw him again. Like, he was like in for life. And he was just like, the letters he would send us was just that same, like, I don't understand why this happened. And I'm like, there are consequences to actions. And I think so many younger adults, and even my age people, I'm like, do you not know that like when you go speeding down the highway and you get pulled over, you get a ticket? Oh, you're drinking and driving? You don't think that they're going to know? Like, and I see that kind of mindset right now with so many different situations where people are like stabbing people are shooting people are breaking and entering, and they're just like, no, I'll get away with it. Maybe that's not their mindset, but it's like they don't stop to think of their consequences that are going to happen. And so then I think it leads us to a victim mentality where it's like, well, they don't know what I've been through. And I'm like, I don't care what you've been through. Like, there's no reason for you to justify this behavior.
Right.
Within your guys' age group, like, what is the conversation when it comes to like protesting or like consequences? What does that look like for you guys?
Well, I think it's just fashionable. Like, it's fashion right now to
be against the world.
Well, and I was talking with my brother one time and we were trying to figure out if it's just because they're mad at their parents or just because they're mad at like whatever role they had as like whatever person in their life was parents. We were talking about all these different places that we came from and stuff. And what's interesting in America is like everyone is from somewhere. Like no one's like, oh yeah, I'm from America. People are like, yeah, but then like, but
like where did you come from?
Yeah,
like, where did your family come from?
Yeah, exactly. And even the people who were local, it's like, well, they were Native Americans. So we all have this rich, context about each other that this is like not, this is where we're here to, to grow something bigger. But so what does it mean to be American? And I think, I think that that's really from, you look at like, I'm just always quoting the Federalist Papers because it was like, ideally, we leave each other alone, but it's like, how do we do that? How does man govern him? How does man govern man like successfully without overstepping or understepping, Yeah. And when it comes to these houses of these guys who are like, I still don't get it. Like, I don't know what I did wrong. It's like, well, the thing that you might have had a lot of horrible things in your life, but the one thing that, that was probably a big one that I notice a lot is just that thing of no one taught you that cause and effect, that consequence, that discipline, and sometimes schools try to step in and like, sometimes police officers have to step in, and somewhere along the line, it's like, teaching that cause and effect, that consequence thing. And, when I was 15, I was like in the whole, it was like, I feel like rap music like peaked around that time. Because yeah, it was weird because like you had like the classics like Biggie Smalls and and it was like yeah like we get it like but then in 2000 I would say like 2015 to 2017 that's when I was on the tail end of high school, and that's when like I remember I don't remember if Molly Percocet came around at that time or maybe a little after, but you had like that song Molly Percocet on the radio, and it's stuff like that. So that's really the culture I remember, which was even the kids who like had it all, right? Like the kids who were living in the hills and had their future, they were going to just take over their father's company and they're already halfway there. Like even those guys were just grasping on to this party culture that like Future and 21 Savage had laid out for us, like, so it was like, that was the fashion, and the fashion was to be ghetto, and like, you had like Bad Baby, who's like, remember her, and just like, and then we had OnlyFans start soon after that, and then COVID made OnlyFans spike, and it was like, not only do you not need a man, but like, you know, you can take advantage of them, basically. Like, you know, so it was like this whole Cardi B, like all of it. So that's really what I remember from being a teenager. And then I became a mom and that, so I got like pulled out of that. But onward from that, I only have what I like talking to my family members and stuff. And what I notice is the fashion has changed a little bit. Like, it's more fashionable now to be gay or to be queer or to be non-binary. Like, I had one person telling me that in her high school, it's just a local high school, you know, that, you know, the most popular kids, like if you think about like Mean Girls, the popular girl was the blonde pretty chick, right?
Right.
But it was like, now it was this like androgynous, like the person you can't tell if they're a man or a woman, like that's the cool person now, you know, like, and they're like, so it's just like, I feel like, you know, every 5 or 10 years, the fashion,
It's something new.
it just changes. And so we'll see what it is next.
Now it's a love for country.
It's shifting into, well, that's why we call ourselves 180 Shift, right? Because we're like, it's that pendulum and going, you know, across the you know, the circle all the time. And with what seems to be more fashionable right now is like, yeah, like stable relationships, eating healthy, making your own bread. Like, who would have thought that? Like, I'm just like, the last time I checked like social world, it was like mixed acid with Molly. And
what gets me
like,
is that it used to be anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
Everyone had a mental disorder and a disability. And
Like,
if you didn't have one,
yeah.
you didn't fit in.
oh, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, Tara, I have anxiety. I'm asexual. I had the whole thing.
We're going to pause for a minute.
Okay.
Because I'm going to go throw up. I'm pregnant. So.
Oh.
I feel like I'm like, oh god, this is not.
You're gonna what? What an awesome way to tell people that you're pregnant. Like that. That was awesome. I love that. I feel so like awkward on the camera because I'm like, do I look over here?
Yeah.
Do I look right here? Like, I don't know what to look at. Which is funny because at our old studio, I would have just been like, oh yeah, you know. Oh, so funny. Hey, you're bringing up really great points.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're. It's nice to hear your perspective on this side of things. You know, it's like, wow, yeah, you really have a lot of experience with this. It's really cool.
Yeah. No, I have a lot of things that I don't say usually.
Well, I like too how you're not bringing up like people. Like, it's just like there's anonymity there,
Yeah.
which is something I need to work. I need to work on that. You know.
I really try because I know that there's people in my family who'd probably come after me for that. So
Yeah. No, same. I know. Even when I said my cousin, I was like, oh my gosh, I hope she never sees this because she's gonna like.
no,
hurt
seriously,
me.
I know.
Like,
She's gonna come after you in the middle of the night.
yeah, she's right. No.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
No. Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations. That's awesome.
I'm like, oh god, that was not. I was feeling it, and I was like, I can't. I need to go to the bathroom. Yeah, we're 8 weeks in a couple of days that we got out, and it has been rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been rough, but
Yeah.
here we are.
Yeah.
We're back. We're fine. Okay. So
Also, I
let's
had a
jump
question.
back
Is
in.
that coffee? Like, is that?
Oh, let me go see if that's here.
Oh, no problem. I was just like,
Yeah, let me go
oh,
check.
thank you.
Oh,
I
you're fine now.
It's coffee time.
That's awesome.
Yes. See, look, my friend making bread.
Your friend's making bread.
I told you, brew, dude, bro. It's like the thing right now. I was even seeing videos of people like saying like Nala Ray,
Yeah.
she's like into making bread now, but she makes all these like weird faces while she makes it. She's like this, like. People are like calling her out for it. They're like, "Why are you making that face, bro?"
That's crazy.
Turning green and people are like,
No.
it is, let's see. Oh, what? Starbucks got delivered to my house. What? That's weird. Why? It's, I hate Grubhub.
Oh no.
Put it.
It sent it to my friend's house who's like 20 minutes away.
Oh no.
Oh no.
It'll be fine.
That's awful.
That is awful.
What we could do is we'll wrap up and then we can just go across the street and get it. So
Oh, how long are your episodes usually?
usually an hour.
An hour, okay.
Yeah, we'll head into the last of it. We'll wrap up this part and then we'll go into the last of it and then we can go across the street. Okay. We're back. All right. So we're going to shift a little bit from just kind of where we're at culturally. Did you want to add anything before we shift to another thing?
Just quickly, the fact that I know in my generation currently when it comes to like consequences and stuff like that, I think it's very, I think it's like half and half. I know some of them are like super surprised when they get like a consequence on it. But I think that partly that reason is for it is because parents, how they taught their children was they kind of had no discipline in there. And that's why we're seeing so many people on the streets causing so much ruckus. And then when they get arrested and they're crying, they're like, why did this happen? So I honestly think it's probably because of how this generation has been raised. Okay. But of course that doesn't take away the responsibility of the person doing it. It's just we've grown up in the mindset of that this is okay. Right.
Yeah. I think that that's such a disservice to every young person in America is to say there is no consequence without action. Mm-hmm. There's actions without consequence. I flipped that. Dyslexia. It's fine. But it's very sad because like it's not even like little things where it's like, oh, I went too fast and got a speeding ticket. Mm-hmm. It literally is like, oh, I can go protest and then I can steal what I want from this store. I'm not going to get caught. And it's not everybody, but there's a big portion of young adults doing this right now. And it is like their parents are okay with it too. And that's like the generation, like most of them are who I grew up with. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, why didn't you teach your kid that like there's some consequences for this stuff? And it's sad. It's very sad to watch. Now we're going to shift a little bit to what are you guys doing now? Because you guys have been traveling. You guys were in studio for a really long time. And now you're kind of doing like street stuff. So what are you guys doing? What is next for you guys? And who are some people that you're currently talking to? If you can share what's next.
Okay. Well, okay. So first off, so yeah, we've taken a little break from the studio. That's because we're having some stuff in the background scenes. But we actually originally, when we first started doing 180, is that we were doing street interviews. That was our main thing at the beginning, and then we started doing that. So I guess we were at protests and doing all that stuff, but now we're kind of like doing that to like do some more stuff. And I've always had such a fun time going on the street and interviewing people. I love doing protests. They're one of my favorite things to do. I get so energized going there. I'm like, I just love it.
I get so much anxiety. So
you know what? I don't even know. It's just like in me, I just have this,
your little fighters in you.
I don't know what it is. It's just like, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to a protest. It's crazy. There's people shouting. There's gas being thrown out. There's, things flying over my head, but it's so cool. And I'm here to interview you. Hi.
And I need you to talk to me real quick.
Talk to me.
Do you think that it might be, it's not that you like the protest itself, but it's more of like, it is more, I feel like the real newscaster.
Yes,
you're on the street and life is happening and you're going to be like one of the first to get that information.
Yeah. No, and it's so cool. Right now I'm going to school for journalism. So so that's kind of like helping me out with that. So it's been really fun to do it because you meet people who are actually there. And so we've been doing some of that, and we've been going to a couple of conventions. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. So like one on the street thing that happened this year, which was so cool, was when we were in DC, we were in that room when that bishop started calling out Trump. And we were because not many people showed up because it was so cold, we got put I counted 14 rows behind Trump, and I was looking at the back of his head. I can remember that. But then we immediately reported on it. We were like, oh my gosh, and then so we made a video on it, and it was it was so amazing to be the ones who
That's so cool.
Put the information out before. And then I even had people from my church tell me you pointed out something that even the news, the main news, didn't point out.
What did you point out?
We pointed out that the whole service was it was very from the beginning, it was off. They had a Sikh come out and like say a bunch of prayers. They had a Muslim come out and say a bunch of, like, it was like that, like the Christian part of it was actually just like one little section of many different religions, like. And
that's odd because was it a Catholic church?
Well, it was, I think, Episcopalian. Well, the thing is about that service was that it was like a prayers thing, so it really didn't specify what it was going to be about.
Yeah.
But I think what they were trying to do is, since they're, the U.S. just has so many different people, they were trying to like cater to each religion that was represented.
But still, though, it didn't feel like, as a Christian, it didn't feel like a safe space. Like, in fact, I was sitting with the woman that we were staying with, and me and her were both going like, oh my goodness. We were actually like praying and like rebuking some of the prayers that were, because it was just so obvious to false gods. And it was like, Christ told us to not sit here and be a part of this.
Yeah.
So like,
that's dangerous.
but so already, like, my guard was pretty up. So when that happened, I looked around, there were like members of Congress near us, and they were like looking at me like,
was this
like they were like looking at each other.
Yeah. The lady bishop called Trump out on some stuff.
Yes.
That one. Oh my gosh. That does sound really weird because that's not what you're like. If you go to a specific, like if you go to a Catholic church, you're expecting to have a mass. You go to a Christian church, you're expecting to have a Christian message and not go and it's like, hey, we're just everything.
Everybody everywhere. Yeah, it was really weird. I know they had a monk or like a Buddha monk. Anyway, it was so
that's
but
weird.
Yeah, it was very strange. But what we're doing right now is we're doing a newsletter, and we're actually pretty excited about it because we were like realizing that we do so many things. Like, she goes out more on the street. I am unable to do that a lot of the time. Yeah. I'm only if it's local, because then I have to arrange childcare and it just gets crazy. And so a lot of what I can do, though, is I can do commentary videos, and I'm an editor. So that's what I bring to the table a lot. So we're like using our different superpowers to see what we can, because we're trying to provide a service to our audience, Yeah. And we have so many interviews that we have like hundreds of videos that are just sitting there. And so with the newsletter, we're trying to pull those out and be like, okay, this is an interview. And then we write a little blog post about it. And then we relate it with current news and stuff. So we're really trying to funnel everything into a clear, my alarm. So sorry. It's okay. Like 1,000 of those. So we're trying to like funnel our messaging into a very clear and concise, thing of what we're doing, And I mean, I think there's a lot of really, really good things ahead for us. Yeah.
And you guys just recently went to a women's summit.
Yes.
Can you talk about that? Because I thought that was pretty cool. I was stalking you guys the entire time. I was looking for you.
The Turning Point one?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Everyone was dressed like this.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, where'd you all get your clothes? They tells me these things.
Yeah.
They put out a memo. Yeah. It's like...
They were like, every attendee must wear these kind of clothes. And they actually did. Like, I saw some people packing hats and stuff, and they were like, we're gonna have a radio night. And I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
I was so curious. And I was kind of like a little bit jealous because my age group didn't have any of that. And I actually messaged Charlie Kirk's wife, and I was just like, thank you for doing this because I wish I had faith-based stuff that I was invited to. My church would have some things sometimes, but it was geared toward the older women. Yeah. But there was nothing geared toward my age. And then, like, I was sitting back, and that was like, I actually thought about it where I was like, wow, the last time I had a mentor was in my early 20s. Yeah. And I'm 35. I haven't had anyone since then. And it was like only for 6 months. So it's so crazy to like the questions that were being asked to me were just so simple, and they didn't like, Charlie and his wife, is it Erica?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, Erica. I was like, oh my God, what's her name? This is not going viral. But Erica, like, they would never roll their eyes. Not once. They were just like, yeah, that's a great question. And I thought that was so much, just very respectful, because as a young girl, especially looking toward somebody as like a guide of like, hey, like, this is a really real question that we have in our early 20s that people seemingly don't know how to answer in the church. And that makes me so heartbroken, though, because that is where we should be able to get those answers, is from women in the church. And so that, like, I thought that was so cool that you guys got to go to that summit. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so it was amazing. I think we didn't even look. This was on our radar, really.
Yeah.
And then we kind of were just like, you know what? Let's just go. Let's go. So we got a booth there. And then we also were like launching another thing, which I'm sure Tara, you'll
Oh
want to
yeah,
talk about that.
I'll mention that.
Yeah. But it was really cool. We got to meet so many great women, and it was such a great energy. All the women there were so sweet, so kind. They were just there to learn, to be energized.
Yes.
And the staff there were really nice. It was just a really nice overall like put together event.
Yeah.
They had great speakers as well.
Yeah, they did.
And what was amazing is that we had a few of the people who were speakers come on in our booth, and we did interviews with them, so that was awesome. We had Nala Ray, which had an entirely like 180 shift in her life.
Say a little bit about her story.
Yeah,
people
so
who are listening.
Nala Ray was one of like the top earners on, was it porn?
OnlyFans.
Yeah, OnlyFans. So she was like one of the top earners.
Yeah,
she
up
was,
there with like Iggy Azalea
she
and Bad
was-
Baby, actually.
She was earning
Mentioned her again.
so much money, but Christ saved her life, and she is now talking about the harms of it. She is, just such a warrior for Christ now, which is amazing. I love her story. You should go check it out. So inspirational. But we had her on, and we had Alex Clark, and just so many of the other people there that are just influential women that are standing up for what's right.
Yeah.
And so that was really amazing, and yeah, I just loved it.
I mean, I'm really glad and grateful that we were able to go. We brought our little team out there, which is really nice. And, with like, we were talking about Nala, what I thought was probably the most powerful thing from what she had shared with us was the impact that her husband had. Like her husband was a guy in her life who liked her. And, she says this in our show, and then, like, realize down the line, oh, you do what to make money? And it didn't scare him away, but he didn't conform to it. Mm-hmm. And I think it was so important. It was like, he consistently sent her Bible verses. Mm-hmm. He talked to her. He just said, look, you're great. What you're doing is not. You need to differentiate the two. And he just kept, like, kneading her brain until it clicked. But and then it just became God working through her. But I thought that was such a powerful message for men, because I think right now men are told so many lies about themselves and about how they should act and be. And that is actually one of the biggest things I notice with men in our generation is like, the Superman. It's like, where's the Superman archetype of a male? There's so many men who just are told to, go with whatever their girlfriend says, or to just, suppress. It's like the suppression is still there.
Yeah.
But it's like in different ways, like they're baited, I feel like, into like looking at women, and then they're shamed for looking at women, and it's just like they're just being like beat up mentally, I think.
It's whiplash. So I have 7 brothers.
Yeah.
And they're all different ages, where right now their ages 37 down to 22. And it has always been like that for them. We're in the last decade, 2 decades, where it is just like, you can't be a man, you can't show emotion, you can't be this, you can't be that. Don't open the door for girls because they don't like it. Don't treat them like a lady because they don't need a superhero. And it's like, even in my generation, it was just like the way that I saw girls treat men was just, it was very belittling. And then it's like, well, now you wonder why men are raising other men. They're just not. And you're like, because they're boys still. Yeah. And then now you add on like social media and it being like, oh man, like it's a trend that pisses me off. Sometimes it's cute, but sometimes it really gets to me. It's the one where it's like the woman is standing up and it being like, my babe's going to tell you something and you're going to listen to him. And I'm going to stand in the background and you better not make faces. You better da-da-da-da. And then the boy comes up and he's like, a man comes up and he's like, I have my Pokemon cards and like, I bought them and they're really cool. And she's in the back. She's like, don't you dare. And I'm like, yeah, it's really funny at first. But then when you realize like, this is actually how women are treating men, where it's like, they're treating them like a child.
Yep.
I'm like, that is it. Like, and I kept, like, what I kept thinking when I watched this was like, why do I just see this little boy? Why am I not seeing this man that's standing with her? And this is like what a mom does for their son, to be like, now play nice. Like, that's how I read it. And there was a couple that were really funny, but then it was like, oh, this is how you see your boyfriend or your husband, is that they are a child.
Yeah.
And that, like, in my generation, that was the common thing that older women would say is like, oh, honey, you'll know, like, he's going to be a man child, and, you know, you're going to have to raise, and they'd always joke and say, I have 5 kids. And I'm like, you have 4, right? You'll see one day, we have 5. And I hated that.
Yeah.
Because my brothers would tell me, like, oh, no, that's exactly how we're treated all the time. And
Oh,
so
exactly.
you need to treat your, like, when you get married, treat your husband with respect. And so when you take respect away, like, what else does a man have? When you kill his dignity, you kill his manhood, you make him look like, you can't help me ever. Like, men are designed to fix things, which is why there's such a conflict with women, is like, we want them to listen, men want to fix. But when we say you can't fix anything, you can't have feelings, you can't do this, it's like, I'm just going to become lazy.
Yeah.
Like, research shows, like, I think it was, somebody was saying, when it comes to, like, spiritual leading, that women can lead, and women can naturally step into that to go lead. Mm-hmm. Men have to be shown how to lead, and then they will lead. But if a woman, like, steps him out of the way, he'll step out of the way. He'll just go. But it's like, women need to stop stepping on their man.
Yeah.
Like, and that was like something along those lines, and I know I butchered it. But it's like, it is like, you are not going to get a man in your life if you consistently degrade them and put them down.
Yeah.
They're going to walk away. Most men will be like, peace out, see you later. Like, I'm not dealing with this if they're very, like, comfortable as a man. But if they haven't had that opportunity yet to be a man, because they're growing up through boyhood, they're just need to be like, yeah, peace out, like, I'm too lazy, I'm this, and this, which I think is why we have such an identity crisis for sexuality, is because no one is showing these young men how to be men, because it's like, no, you can't be a man, so you have to be a woman.
Yeah.
And, like, that breaks my heart, and people are like, no, you can't say that. I'm like, it's the truth, though.
It is true, and it goes the other way, too, which is, you know, like, you take a female who maybe doesn't want to adopt that kind of, you know, I don't know, it's like that overarching sense of power that I think sometimes children even pick up in society. And it's, you have a little girl who looks at that and goes, I don't want to be that. I'd rather be the nice, you know, the docile creature over here, the man.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's, speaking of the...
It's like you're either sexualized and have to be this, like, female that's, you know, I've noticed, it's like, I hated that, where I'm like, I don't want to wear a dress because I didn't get to play. Mm-hmm. And then if I was a tomboy now, it'd be like, oh, she likes boys' clothes. It's like, no, girls' dresses are really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
They're just physically uncomfortable. But it's like, I like to play, and I wasn't allowed to put shorts underneath the dress. They were just like, no, you have to sit with your legs crossed. So I was like, I don't want to do that. But, like, today's age, it's like, a lot of girls have either been sexualized to where, like, I mean, you look at their clothes, you look at little girls' clothes, and you're just like, why are you being allowed, like, why are you even selling this short little thing?
The crop top.
Crop top for a toddler.
I've seen that,
super annoying. But
or a bikini, I'm just like, why are you putting...
It's so annoying. All it's annoying. But, yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, no, and that's what's interesting, too, because we actually, you know, we've formed this relationship with this detransitioner who's suing, you know, Kaiser and gone up in Congress. It's Chloe Cole, and we actually we had the blessing to share our booth with her, which is actually part of the reason why we were able to go out there, is because of this booth. So that's her story. And you know, speaking of young men, like my brother, for example, he you know, he was faced with that same thing. It's like just women growing up, like, look at me, don't touch me. Were you thinking, like, shame on you, but you weren't, you know, it's just such a whiplash, like you said.
It's like that gym video where the girl has a tampon on her butt, and this guy comes up and he's like, hey, and she's like, I have a boyfriend. He's like, sweet, so do I. So you have a tampon on your butt.
Yeah.
He wants to let you know, love you, sis, and walks away. And I cracked up at that one, because it's like, literally, you see so many where these girls are doing this on social media of like, look at this man, look at me while I'm working out. And it's like, you know, the girl's here, they're looking here, you can't see that on the camera.
Yeah.
And that's what gets me, is that, like, you're right. Like, men are literally told, look at me, don't look at me, how dare you look at me.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to falsely accuse you with something.
Yeah.
So, men, like, literally every one of my brothers has said, like, they will go to a grocery store, or they'll be out in public, and they look at the ground, because they're like, I don't want to ever be in a situation where some stupid girl is having a bad day, and she's just like, I'm going to say that you looked and lingered too long at me.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh.
Because that's shaming.
Yeah, I was like, you fear that? And he's like, yeah.
It's incredibly shaming. Yeah, it's incredibly shaming. And that's the thing, too, with men in general is just like, yeah, it's just the constant roller coaster. But actually, another cool thing about this is that my brother and Chloe and me and, you know, all of us, we had this like collaborative narrative dramatization of Chloe's story in a music video, which I loved it so much because it mixes culture, politics with art, which is something that, and so we were able to premiere this in Dallas at the Young Women's Leadership Summit. Yeah. I gotta show it to you.
Send it if you can. Send it, and we'll link it in the video for people to watch.
Oh, wonderful!
I would love that to just be like, because it is such a thing where I love stuff like that. I love different ways we can do art. I'm like, really watch it.
Right? Oh yeah, and what's cool too is my brother's the musician in it.
Oh, cool.
And he just had to like hearing him talk about his high school experience. It's just like, yeah, you just got like. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Like, you can't do anything. And then on top of it, you're just inherently bad. And so it's like all this different stuff. So it was really cool because he has that perspective. And then Chloe has her story. And then, and then I think it's our responsibility as parents to teach our daughters to say, look, it's not, and as they get older, like at an age appropriate level, it's not that they're evil, it's that if they're looking at you, it comes naturally, but understand that you have a power. This is your superpower as a woman, you know? And so how you use that superpower is, you know, it's like if you're very smart, it's like what I tell my daughter all the time, oh, you're so smart. I want you to use your your intelligence for good.
Yes.
Something that helps you grow, something that helps you live the best life for yourself and others. And I think it comes down to the same with sexuality. It's like, this is a superpower that you have, you know, and all women have it. Like, there is no perfect woman. We're all, they just like women. Like, you know, we were all done messed up.
We're all the girls. They're just like, ooh, pretty.
Yes, ooh, pretty, exactly. It doesn't matter. There is no perfect race. There is no perfect height. Like, there's not even a perfect weight. Like, men just love women. And like, so it's like important to teach them like how you have the upper hand here as a woman. So how can you use that upper hand for the better for yourself and the better for others around you?
Well, and I think the biggest point, like it's easier for me to always be friends with guys. Like, I think it's because I have so many brothers that I just understand them differently. But the key that I want girls to hear is you don't use it to manipulate and get what you want, which is what we have been told in the like public eye. Like I know so many women my age who have done this, where it's like, I have no interest in him at all, but I really like the gifts and the dates that he's taking me on. And I'm like, you are screwed up. Like, you do not do that, because it is such a hurt thing. Like, you don't, like, I hate, there's that trend where it was like, kiss your best friend and see what happens on social media, where it was like the guy and the girl, it was like, see what happens. And there were so many of these videos where the guy, you could be like, oh my God, she actually cares for me. And then she's like, oh my God, like, this is so stupid. I can't believe I did that. And then you just see it in his face of just complete being crushed.
Yeah.
And I was like, you did this for a social media trend. Yeah. And you have no idea that he actually has feelings for you. And then it's like, you see it in every single movie that they talk about with that, where it's like, it is hard for that reason for boys and girls to be friends together. But if you are honest with that guy and you just say like, look, I love you as a friend, but I do not have feelings for you, you're going to be able to have a friendship. But so many people are like, no, it doesn't work. I'm like, I've had those conversations with friends with guys that I was friends with in the past, where I was just like, I love you enough to tell you this, that and I would always say like, please let me know if I'm reading your gestures incorrectly. But it kind of seems like you're flirting with me, and I don't have that feeling for you. Mm-hmm. And they were just, you know, sometimes it was received well, where they're just like, oh girl, you're just reading into it. I'm just a flirt. And I'm like, cool, awesome, no big deal. But then there were times they're like, no, I have feelings for you. And I'm like, okay, if I am doing something that is making that happen, tell me I need to stop doing that. I'm not going to be rude to you, but I need to stop doing that. If I'm leading you on in any way, I cannot and will not allow myself to do that. And that's protecting your friend. Like, if you really truly love someone, you're going to say, you know what, it is better for me to be honest with you, to not to lie to you, and not to lead you on. Because so many girls will be like, well, I already told him I didn't have feelings. And I'm like, yeah, and then you're holding his hand when he's touching your hand while we're watching a movie. That you're leading him on. You're making him think, because men, like, the guys that I had friendships with at that time, they would tell me, like, Janisha, like, anything, we read into anything. You touch my hand like that, and you hold onto my hand, that tells me you have feelings for me. Not that you just want to hold somebody's hand because you're lonely, as you have said. This is what I see. And I'm like, when they told me that, I was like, dude, this is wild.
Yeah.
Like, girls, we need to stop playing with boys' emotions. Like, no, that's not okay. You want a nice purse? You go work your butt off for it. Like, you do not use a guy friend to take you out on dates. Like, you can take yourself out on a date. But if you really, really want to date that desperately, then just go on social media and ask someone to go on a date with you. Like, there's going to be someone out there, but I feel like so many girls have, like, they've justified that it is okay to use someone to get what they want. And I'm like, I'm just not down with that narrative. And, like, yes, I know there's men out there who do the same thing. They just want sex, and they're on social media or on dating apps. And I get that. But, like, if that's not what you want, then don't go on the dating app with that intention.
Yeah.
Like, just don't. But don't lead your friends on. And I think that's where we do such a disservice. Like, I don't know how many guys I would talk to who's like, I can't believe I let her lead me on. And I'm like, dude, what happened? And it was like, well, she never was clear with me. And I'm like, she literally told you she didn't have feelings. It's like, yeah, but her actions were this. She kept me around, and then she would try to, like, kiss me or hold my hand or like this. And I'm like, why? And it always ended up being where it was like a girl was trying to make another guy jealous, so they used their friend to do it. And I was like, dude, y'all are shady. Like, that's why I hated being around girls for so long, was because I was like, you are guys, we're nasty to each other, and then we are really nasty toward our guy best friends, and we use them and abuse them, and then be like, well, why don't you like me? But then they would date someone else, and the girl's like, but what about me? And I'm like, you're just a friend. Like, you didn't like him. You said you didn't like him. So it's like, but again, it's like they wanted the attention.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a selfish way. And so that was something I saw, like, Erica had started talking about at this women's summit, was like, ladies, you're going to dress a certain way, you're going to attract a certain person. Like, hands down. And she's like, I'm not saying that you need to dress, like, neck to toe and, like, everything covered, but, like, just know the way you act, the way you talk, the way you dress is going to attract certain kind of people. Like, you want to attract a good man, you have to be a good woman. And I was like, preach it. Like, I wish I had someone like this in my 20s, because I would have avoided a lot of stupidity.
Yeah.
But it was because I had also, like, in my 20s, I had a lot of girls telling me, like, if you want a good man, you have to be, like, ready to go sexually. And, like, you need to sleep around so you're ready to go, because they're not just going to... And I'm like, I wish I had more women being like, yeah, that's not true.
Yeah,
that's not true, like, at all. But there were so many other people that I had, like, started to listen to. And it was friends that were my age. And so, like, this is where I love this concept of older women pouring into younger women, because when you're around people who have the same beliefs as you, sometimes it's not the best thing for you. It actually can hinder you a lot, and it can get you and land you into trouble. And that's where it's like, I didn't know that these were friends who were just like, they just really didn't care about their future. They couldn't think past today or next week. They couldn't think like, oh, will I be ashamed of this in 2 years? And a lot of the ones that I used to hang out with, they're still doing the same things we used to do in high school today. And they're 35, 40 years old, which is like wild, because I'm like, dude, we're old now. Like, why are you still acting like you're in high school? It's really awkward.
Yeah. And you know what? Even my mom's, this is something my mom's always grown me with. She's always told me, be aware of people your age or people who are even just a few years older than you and what they're telling you.
Yeah.
Just be aware of what they're telling you. Like, they may be wanting to offer you advice, they may be well-meaning, you may trust them, but just don't listen to them. You got to listen to people who are where you want to be.
Yes.
Because if not, it's just the blind leading the blind. Yeah. Like, even if they're only like a couple years older, like, they don't even have that much experience. Like, you guys are at the same level. Like, you can't do that. So that's something that I appreciate my mom's always told me. But yeah, and I know that, you know, I love what YWLS is doing, because that's for women who don't have that.
Yes.
You know? So
they need to start a 35-year-old.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens.
There's
Yeah.
some shady stuff happening for my age group.
Oh.
And it's not like I honestly love like the fact that they are pouring into women in general. Like anyone who's just like, hey, you don't have this, like we want to pour into you. Because you're right, like there is a reality of if someone's 4 or 5 years older than you and they're still drinking and partying, going to bars, and you're like, that's not what I want to do, and you're getting advice from them. It's not that their advice and wisdom is not true, but at some point you have to like, hey, like you haven't changed what you're doing. Like if you really wanted to change your life, you wouldn't be going to the bars and drinking and doing all of these things. So I think that's why, like, even though I started to slip in my 20s, there were some people being like, hey, that's not the direction you want to go in, right? And I'm like, no. And they're like, you got to get out of that. Like, get away from that person because that's the lifestyle they want. And that's not what I wanted.
Yeah.
And so that's why, like, at 31, I had a PhD raising my siblings because it was like, that was my goal. But I was hanging around 45, 50-year-olds who had teenagers because I was like, look, that's where my life is right now. Like, I'm raising teenagers and in school. But looking back, like, I'm like, okay, I know for me, I can start pouring back into women who are younger and just being like, look, I'm here as a friend, I'm here as advice. I can tell you all the stupid stuff you don't want to do. I can tell you all the stuff that you want to do. But I think that there's this narrative, and it's not even now, it's been for, 2-3 decades where it's like women can't be mothers and be successful. And I don't think that that's true. I think it's very sad that we shame women who are stay-at-home moms. I think that is the hardest job. I mean, I'm part stay-at-home mom. I'm like full-time stay-at-home mom, but like stay-at-home mom, and then I do my business on the side. But like, it's a lot of work to be a stay-at-home mom. But also, like, it is so cool to see real traditional values coming back for families, where it's like mom and dad in the home together, working together as a team, because that was not what my age group was doing. Mm-hmm. It's my age group. It was, okay, you have 3 kids, maybe from different dads. You're not really sure. Like, that's a lot of my friends, multiple dads, or they are married and divorced now. Very few stayed married. A lot of the ones that I know that are still together, have been together, have kids together, work hard together, they're all older than me. They've always been older than me. But the ones that are my age group, a lot of them are still single. And a lot of them are like miserable because they're just like, well, where are all the men? Married with kids.
Yeah.
That's where they're at. But we were shamed into, not shamed, but like really told, like, you can't be a mom, you can't have a career, you have to choose one. And so there's a lot of women that are my age that are like, Tanisha, you have both. You have everything I wanted. And I'm like, because I worked for those things. And you can still have them, but what it requires of you is to get rid of the mentality that men suck.
Yeah, and also, like, it's like that thing of the nice guy. It's like, how many of these women have had opportunities with the nice guy,
and
but then they
don't want the nice guy?
Yeah, because they make them cringe. They're like, you're too nice, and it makes that it's like
or
that intimacy.
Guy.
Yeah, or like the nerd. It's like, this guy could perfectly make you happy. Like it's like it's all about it. It has to come from in here, and I think it comes from a fear of that intimacy. It's like they never received that intimate love from their father, where their father looked at them and went, "You're beautiful, and I just want to spend time with you." So when a man says that to them, they're like, "What? Run!" Like, don't you need something from me?
For my age group, it's even worse because it's like I have had so many conversations with women my age, and I mean like the last 10, 15 years. So from my 20s to now, where they've said, like, we were kind of taught, like, you go for attraction of a man, what his lifestyle, him physically, and then you don't really care if he's emotionally available. Like, that was really what so many women were saying, is like, oh, you want to be attracted to him, like, physically, sexually was a big thing. Like, that's why the whole, like, live together, test it out. I literally had a conversation with someone last week when I did a podcast, and he's like, he's older, and he's like, wait, what are you talking about? You and your husband waited to have sex before you got married. And I was like, look, I didn't do that before I met him, and it was the biggest regret of my life. And this is what I had wished, is that someone said, like, you can start over, and we did that together. And like, I was so glad, because it was like it was a redemption of like, hey, I'm not going to sit with a man who's going to be like, yeah, well, let's test drive it to make sure that's good. I'm like, that sex thing doesn't matter. You can improve that over time. That's fine. But what you can't improve, and is harder to improve, is communication. Do you have respect for that person? Do you like know how to have a hard conversation with that person? And that's something that a lot of my generation was not taught to do. They were like, I'm not even kidding. I'm thinking of a friend who like messaged me and was just like, yeah, here are the guys that I want to physically go for, but they're not good people. They're not good men. They're men who are like, they'll cheat on me, they'll do this and that. And I was like, girl, you need to go for one of those nerds, man. Like, not because like he's not gonna be let go. Like most nerds that I know, they're like they hold down jobs, they're really, really, really smart. But like they're totally into like Pokemon board games and all this other stuff. And they're really funny guys if you sit with them. But so many girls are just like, it's not even just the nice guy, it's just like the guy that you would not look at physically sometimes. And I'm like, you can literally, I don't know about you guys, but I know for me, like, I used to, like, in high school, in college, be like, that guy was really attractive. And as soon as he spoke and how he spoke to people, I was like, dude, you're ugly. Like, I don't care that you had a six-pack. I don't care that you were the most attractive guy in high school or college. Like, you are ugly at your core. But then you have, like, this nerd guy who wasn't very attractive, and you watched how he, like, and I wouldn't, like, necessarily be attracted to him, but, like, I was just like, you were such a beautiful human being that I respect you and love you. And, like, even though, like, at first glance, most girls would be like, I was just like, you were just this most adorable person that I've met. And it's because internally they were just so sweet and good at the heart. And that's what I think a lot of women my age were never taught. They were taught to go for attraction, not for like the core of the person.
Isn't that funny though? Because it's like, it goes for both men and women.
Yeah.
You can have a woman who's got a, 10 out of 10 body or whatever, and then her personality. Yeah, and then she speaks, or you see how she is around kids, and you're like, whoa, what's going on here? Like, and that throws people off. And so it goes, it definitely,
both ways.
it absolutely, it goes both ways. And, one thing really quickly to touch on the Dallas convention again was, some of the women spoke. In fact, many of them spoke about this. They said, it was like, you can't do both. Or if you try to do both, something is going to lose out. Like, both meaning working and motherhood. That was one thing where every time I heard that, multiple speakers said that. Yeah. I kind of went like, I disagree. I feel like the message should be, like if I was up there giving a speech, I would say, you can do both. You're just going to have to work harder. Yeah. Because that's like the reality. Like for me, like I work probably about 16 to 20 hours a week of my part-time job. And then I work from home. So I'm with my kids most of the time. Yeah. And, like 95% of the time I'm at home with my kids. So I'm cleaning, I'm taking care of them. I'm like doing the things that my husband asks, like making food and stuff like that. And then I work. So it's like, well, how does that work? And what I've found is on my best days, I have to wake up at 4 a.m. and that'll be a good day for like everyone. I'll get my work done. I'll get my like 4 hours of work done. The kids are going to have a great day. I'm probably going to take them to the park. Like the house is going to be clean. Everything is going to be calm, but I have to wake up at 4 a.m. Yeah. So it's like, okay, well, I have to go to bed at like 7, it's like my life gets restructured. So and then, what am I sacrificing a lot of the times? Well, now if I want to go to like a group church event, like now that maybe is going to get pushed down in the priority list. Although sometimes on those really good days, it's like, oh, I'm still able to do that because I'm able to, reach out to my mom later in the night and we're able to work out a childcare thing. But that was another just little takeaway that I wish they would have said more. It is possible. You can do both. One doesn't necessarily have to suffer, but you'll have to buckle down and work harder. And
well, and I think you have to say no to more things. And like I agree with you. It's like you can have both, and that you can be successful in both. Yeah. But it does require that, like, so if you worked 40 hours, it would require that you have childcare and babysitting, or they're in school. If you wanted to travel, that's going to be a little bit harder. So you have to maybe say no to things that are out of state and more to yeses to local stuff. But what I find is that there is not a lot of people that understand that. Like, I have always heard that same thing where it's like, you're going to suffer, like, you're going to be a bad mom on that day, or like an absent mom that day. It's like, things are going to happen. Like, absolutely, you're going to be tired. But then what are you saying yes to that gets you to that goal? And then it's going to take longer to get to that goal sometimes. Like there's a ton of stuff that right now I'm saying no to. And that's hard because it's just like, oh, I really want to do that. But it's like, okay, is that even in alignment? Like I used to teach online, and I did that for 4 years. And in January, I stepped back because I was just like, it's too much. It's too much to run a business and then do speaking events and then to go teach full time and then have a toddler. Like I was killing myself over this. And I was like, yeah, I could say that then, be like, yeah, there's so much where I'm just not doing well on. My house is always dirty. Like something is going to fall through the cracks. But I could say no to teaching and then say, okay, that's just not in alignment anymore for this season. And that's okay. That doesn't mean I failed because I stepped back, but I do think we look at that as a failure sometimes. Where people are like, oh no, like you're not teaching anymore. It's like, I don't need to do 1,000 things. But if I wanted to do 3 things well, I can absolutely do that. But it does require, like you said, like, okay, I'm gonna have to get up earlier or stay up later or say no to more things. And that I think is different for someone who goes and speaks all over the place. Like I could see them, that's why they're saying like, hey, you're not gonna be able to be home all the time. But like where I created it differently for me and my family is that we travel together now. So my husband and my daughter come with me every single time we travel. And like, that's like, there's no ifs, ands, ors about like, if someone's like, you can't bring your kid, I'm like, peace out, I'm not doing this event then. That's just how it is. Like they won't be in the event with us, but they're coming on this trip with me. And that has made it so much more fun that like Harper has been to more places than I ever did. Even in my life, I'm like, you do more than I do. You're 2.5. But it is that, I think that concept of like, if I can't take my family with me, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And that's something that not a lot of people can do. Like I can't imagine some of those speakers have like 5, 7 kids. You can't travel with 5 to 7 kids all the time. Yeah. That's hard.
That's true.
And that I can understand why they would say that. But also at the same time, I would want to challenge them and say, how much more are you saying no to them? So that you can have that better balance. Because that, I think sometimes we feel that pressure that we have to say yes to everything. And maybe they are really good at their no's, but I found like I wasn't until recently. And like now I'm like, I'm okay with only having 2 events in the year versus other people are like, you don't have 30. I'm like, no, I don't want them. I don't want 30 because I'm dying at 30. But 2, I would understand. Like I can imagine because Charlie and Erica, he travels so much. Like I can understand where it's like, okay, there's seasons she has to say no because he had to say yes. You know, but that's his responsibility and their dynamic that they worked out. So that would make sense in my head where I'm like, oh, I could see that why you had to say like, there's going to be those days you don't have that. But I wish they did take it that step further.
Yeah, that's a really good point too. That thing of saying no. You're like getting my head like, what should I rearrange in my life? But yeah, yes, right. No, that's really good advice.
Yeah. Add before we end.
Ooh, I'm not sure. Well, you know what? I'm just excited for the future because there's a lot of stuff, a lot of unknowns. But I know that God's going to put in place everything that needs to happen.
I love that.
And so that's something that I'm trying to take right now in this season of life is just, I don't know what's going to come up, but, what's going to happen is going to happen. And when it doesn't, it doesn't. So that's something that I've just been really trying to take with me. But I enjoy talking to you so much.
Yes,
I could talk for hours with you.
It's been wonderful.
I don't know how much time we're at, but it's going to be perfect. So you guys follow them, 180 Shift on social media, follow them on YouTube. They have their newsletter coming out. You guys need to have it. There's so much information that they have. I stalked them when they were doing the protests in Pasadena because I was just like, I feel like I'm live with them, but I was also praying because I was like, God, like protect them. Because that stuff scares me because I grew up in Los Angeles for a period of time and in Fontana, and like when we had things go down, it was like, it gives me some flashbacks sometimes where I'm like, yeah, my head almost got chewed out with a brick. So that's why I'm like, media protests, we don't work. But follow them. It's going to be so exciting. I know a lot of us need more people who are willing to have conversations about the hard things, and that's why we are doing this episode, is to make sure that people have those hard conversations, and then being able to have you guys be that fly on the wall to help hear how we would navigate it so you guys can navigate it too. But you guys follow along, comment, ask questions. You can private message the questions as well. But we will see you guys later on the next episode.